Japan. Home of samurai, sushi, and the home of this twisted maniac, Issei Sagawa. Built like a fragile 10-year-old boy and looking like a failed lab experiment, the only way he saw compensating for his miserable existence was truly and utterly sick. And the worst part is, he walked away free.
But そんなことはやめようと思っています。今、以外の方という随想みたいなのを書いていますが、この以外っていうのは
I'm not happy to say that I share this planet with the creatures like Issei Sagawa. And when I say creature, that can be considered as a compliment. He might not be the worst one that I will deal with, or the first one by body counts, but no matter what, he will always be on the very top when it comes to the sheer feeling of disgust and absolutely zero empathy whatsoever. Because unlike many who experienced some traumatic childhood, Sagawa did not have a thing to worry about. Well, except for being ugly as hell. But even so, that could have been dealt with in a much different manner than what his twisted mind produced. Although there was not any physical violence in his family, the thing about rich people, and by the way his parents were filthy rich, is the fact that they always think they can settle all with money. And in some words it is actually true, money can buy all, so it's not completely off to think Sagawa was neglected in a way that he lacked parental attention, which prompted him to do some bizarre things when growing up. He lived in a very conservative environment, you can say, where the word sex was a taboo subject, so holy surprise, he deviated early and developed very sick habits, which I will not mention due to my personal reasons. I will just say that they include animals, and not in a good way. So basically, with a no knowledge of how the life actually works, and armed with a ton of insecurities because of his midget height, and with already distorted thinking, it was an open recipe for a disaster. You know, when you are big as a coffee table and weigh as much as one bag of cement, that could present some serious obstacles for a manhood. With him being born prematurely, and with the looks of some space half-lizard to go along with all from the above, literally everything pointed that the worst is yet to come. And unfortunately, it did. Living in Japan, where the culture of dressing is a bit different, it is no surprise that this ugly thing had his mouth watering every time he saw a couple of good legs walking on high heels. Well, for an ordinary fellow, that would in most cases mean the things I would do with those legs. The problem is that Sagawa had exactly the same thoughts, but in his case, the combination of those exact same words had a tremendous difference. It is safe to say that it didn't include any sort of fun for adults. Well, except in his world. For some reason he was obsessed with women tithes, and soon he planned his first attempt to commit a dreadful act. He followed one female he saw on the street to her place, and after she fell asleep he snuck into her apartment with a plan to kill, cut her up and eat her. But according to him, he froze and ended up staring at her naked body in bed until he accidentally touched her with his knee. The woman woke up, screamed, and Sagawa was done. Sagawa was charged with a rape attempt, but unfortunately the police didn't know his true intentions. And of course, due to the deep pockets of his daddy, let's just say that he didn't bend for soap in the showers. The ugly thing decided to leave Tokyo and make some other country miserable with his presence. The country was France, the great city of Paris to be more exact, which was the home of the Sorbonne University, where he planned to study comparative literature. The university was full of good-looking female students, and unfortunately, Sagawa laid his tiny eyes upon a Dutch girl by the name of Renée Hartevelt. Now, with his appearance it was difficult for him to approach her in any kind of way, but as it turned out, Renée was a sweetheart of a person and didn't judge people on looks, which made the story even worse. This tiny prick managed to use that, and with the invitation for studying some poetry, he had her in his apartment. The thing is that her friends warned her previously that there is something definitely off with the lizard-looking creep, but unfortunately, she was just too naive to trust people. Poor girl. And by that point, Sagawa had already everything planned in his head. He bought 2 suitcases for disposing the body. He had his rifle loaded, and the most disturbingly, he kind of took a course on how to dismantle a human body. After his graduation, he took a cruising trip to Greece, where he met and shared a table with a butcher and his wife, and the man actually taught him on how to butcher meat the proper way. Of course, he didn't know for what purpose. But as it turned out, he later found out that Sagawa sent him a thanking letter. I cannot imagine a feeling that this guy had when he found out he was kind of responsible for such a monstrous act. On June 11th, 1981, Renée arrived in his apartment, and the moment this little weak, half-lizard psychopath waited was finally there. After she sat down and started reading poetry, Sagawa shot her in the head. Just like that, she was gone. He was now ready to begin with his diabolical, sick, twisted, and disgusting plan. The one he believed would change his life. You know, the thing about the cannibals is that they believe that all the good characteristics of the person you consume would just transfer to you. So being weak and little pathetic piece of shit, Sagawa thought that he will somehow become stronger, taller, and prettier. Disturbing. Before he proceeded to implement his learned butcher skills, he of course had sexual intercourse with a lifeless body. Out of respect for the victim, I decided I don't want to display any images from the crime scenes, even if they are blurred on the max. Some things are just not meant to be there, and I'm certainly not looking for sensationalism. An innocent person lost her life in an unspeakable way, and to present her in that kind of state, in my opinion, is just wrong. You can easily find everything online, so it is up to you. After he dismembered the body, he started cooking and eating one part at a time. While doing so, he listened to the recordings of her reading poetry. He captured every single moment of his dreadful journey with a camera. And if you think that this sickening case cannot get on any higher level of disturbing, you are wrong. In his mid-pause, he took the torso in the bedroom and had sexual intercourse with it for the second time. Then he returned to the kitchen, ate some more parts of her body, and ultimately decided to go sleep with that same torso. Now, since it was a summer in France, the problem for this psychopath occurred in the morning when the body began to dissolve and smell. He packed the remaining parts in the previously prepared suitcases and wanted to dump it all in a nearby pond. He called a taxi and about 8 p.m. the same day took off from the apartment. However, having 2 little sticks instead of actual man-arms, he was dragging the suitcases along. People in the park noticed that something was off, and once he saw them, he freaked out and just left the suitcases there. Once the people got close and saw blood, they opened the bags and saw the horrific scene. The police was called immediately, who then began the search for this twisted bastard. In the following days, while they were searching for him, he ate the flesh he previously put in the fridge and watched pornography as a side dish. But he didn't enjoy it too long, since the authorities pinned him down 4 days later. Upon being arrested, he only said, "I killed her so I could eat her flesh." And normally this would be it. Arrest, trial, and life in prison. But not here. You see, after his arrest, Sagawa waited for 2 years to stand trial, only to be found insane. Once again, because of his father's deep pockets, his punishment was mental facility. But once the French public heard about this, they were outraged and didn't want to waste money on this worthless piece of shit, which is, by the way, fully understandable. They demanded immediate deportation from the country, but there was actually a sword with 2 blades. Since he was found unfit to stand trial in France, the murder charges had to be dropped, which meant that his country of Japan could not build a case against him. He was then checked into the mental establishment one more time, but checked out himself on August 12, 1986. Issei Sagawa, the little weak half-lizard creep, was free. The first few years of his freedom were as expected. No job, no income, no social life. But then, one of the worst things in this world, there is a threat to this very day, came in as a saving hand. The media. They took the interest in him and offered him $20,000 to write a series of columns about his heinous crime, which he gladly accepted. And seeing that as an opportunity, he soon wrote a whole book and cashed in nicely. As the time progressed, he was only moving up on the ladder. Everybody wanted a piece of the pie, so he was basically turned into a celebrity in Japan. Being guest on national television, playing roles in TV shows, even creating a manga series, with his disgusting crime being a central story. They went as far as filming a softcore pornography, but telling the actress who he was only after, which needless to say, left some permanent scars in her mind. And to this very day, it is still hard for me to believe that this twisted fuck was enjoying all these things, and even more disturbing, the people at the same time had nothing against it.
あれがそうなんですか？あれ？なんかやっぱりちょっと異様な雰囲気ありますね。なんか思ったより堂々としてるね。俺名前教えないからあの人に。なんで？やだもう。覚えられるのやだ。だんだん近づいてきましたね。なんでしょうね。なんかなんとか成人みたいな感じですよね。なんか新聞のなんか集金のおじさんでしょ？スター特有のオーラがあるもんや。来ました。もう3メートル、2メートル、1メートル。異常な目をしてますよ。荒木さんはトカゲの目だって。そうそう。うまいことやっぱりさすがですね。だけど結構いろんな人と会ってますよね。ちょっととりあえず。うわー。これは何ですか？こ この人だからこんなに異様なんですか、それとも普通に異様なんですか。
これね、普通でもね、
まあ事件起こしてなくてもこれでいいんですか。なんですかこれ、よくわかんない
ですね。
ちょっと全てが
白す
こ
ぎるっていうのはあるよ。白すぎる。
ほらほらバランス
バランスがもう
すでに。ああ、なんかもう人間じゃないですね。
人間じゃない。
見た目が。はい、いいですよ。21ぐらいですかね。あ、いいですよ。大して変わんないですね。いいですよ。もう
17、半分ぐらいですね、波の人の。
これはやっぱりちょっと鍛えないと。
鍛えないとダメですね。はい、続きましてはですね、100m 走。これも 100m 走るだけです。タイムを測りますんで。自信のほどはどうですか。全然ないですか。
中学校の時とか 100m 測ったこととかないですか。
中学1年の時に100m じゃなくて 50m ですね。
50m、何秒ぐらいですか。
あの時は割と早かったんですよ。
早かった。いろんなものから逃げるつもりで走ってください。
そうそうそうそう。
そうしたらかなりね、早く逃げます。
ということで、スタートラインはですね、あちらですね、白い審判さんがいますんで、スターターがいますんで、
後ろから悪魔が追いかけてくるって感じでね。
笑ってるよ。笑ってる笑ってる。
また後ろ姿がもう異様ですね。
さあ、
もう全てが異様ですね。普段何考えてるんでしょうね、あの人ね。失敗したなとか思ってるんですかね。
思ってんのかな。ちゃんとクラウチングスタートもできるんだ、ああいうの。なんかね。スタート。ね。始めました。
銃弾に音には敏感ね、やっぱりね。
まあ確かに。
なんか変な走り方。
でも。
うわ、何これ、何か表現できない、こんなの。
柔らかい感じですよね。
こんなのないよ。
柔らかい。
こんなのすげえ不思議。なんか変すぎる。いいよ、うわ。走ってるっていう感じじゃないもん。
タイムは何秒でした？
どっちや。21秒63。
21秒63ですよ。
変な走り方だね、だけど。
いやー、
なんかもうすごい。
どうですか今走った感想。
いや、カール・ルイスの気持ちはよくわかります。
どんな気持ちなんですか、カール・ルイスの気持ち。
なんかすごい歪んだ感じ。
なんかね、
絶対追いかけられたくないって感じ。
でもなんか追いかけられても逃げるの簡単って感じですよ。
怖くて足がすくんじゃう、あんなの。
46歳のね、男性の大体平均がですね、18秒16。18秒ぐらいです。
これを往復で。絶対な。
まあなんとか近づけるように。行きましょう。よーい、スタート。まあちょっとコツつかめた感じなんですね。さっきよりね。ちょっと早いじゃないですか、さっきよりね。
変なのは変わらないですけどね。
もう終わった後何が何だか分かんなかったって言ってましたけどね。
もう左手の動きね。
あそこでまた、まあいいや、もうあれぐらい。
もうなんか左手の指の感じが変。
感じが変ですね。でも今回ちょっといいですね。さあ、もうちょいです。ゴールイン。はい、タイムがですね、25秒14。
これやればできる。
やればできる。
人のやれないことができる人なんですからこの左手のこういう手のあれはどうなってるんですかね。
全然無視。
でも
左手使っちゃうとね、
手ちっちゃいですね、やっぱね。
手がやっぱ変だもん、形が。
俺もね、かなりちっちゃいんだけど、でも俺がちっちゃいですね。
その代わり胸毛生えてるんですよ。
胸毛生えてますよ。20秒間やっていただきます。
で、なんか顔色悪くなってきちゃって大丈夫ですか。
まあ僕ら責任ないと思うんで。
責任ないここでこの人死んじゃったらどういう立場になるんですか。
我々
正義の味方。
正義の味方。
そうですか。
自分で言ってよろしいですか。
マジですからね。
よーいスタート。1234567。
歪んできた
11、
この人動くと世の中が歪んでくんだよ、だんだん。なんだろう、この不思議な瞬間が歪む。
確かに。
なんかこう夢に出る。
はい、 ということで24回46歳の平均が 40.95 回ということなんで、
ちょっとダメですね。
まあでもこんなもんですかね。
結構
結構ね
いってますよ。
どうぞ。
うわー、上がんない
上がんないですか？もうちょっと力
頑張って頑張って。
もうちょっとうわ
結構いいとこ
さっきよりがねちょっと行きましたね。いろんな種目をやってみたんですけれども、まず感想はどうですか？やってみて。
疲れました。
疲れますよね、それはね。ただまあ46歳のですね平均の数値約半分ぐらいですかね、大体。
まあこれじゃちょっとね、とりあえず肉体労働はもう無理ですね。
肉体労働はちょっときついかな、やっぱり。
これからどんどん体を鍛えて、そういうね、大会とかに行って。
大会ですか？いきなり大会出るの？
犯人ピックとか言って
そんなのある？
そういう人ばっかり集めて。
そういう人ばっかりあるわ